Here we are back. This is Football 101. We are officially back once again. Football 101, the YouTube show. That's right, Football 101, the YouTube show. I am back. Your host, the Beetle. Yeah, former DB and wide receiver from back in the day, old school days, 70s, 74, 75 DB, Senior Ohio, and then walk on and scout team player, and yes, for Miami of Ohio. Back in the day, 79 and 80, loved it. Each and every rap, bringing the attitude. Eventually making special teams back in the day. Yes, I brought this and loved every bit of it. A shout out to the Miami University Redhawks and also my former, teammates, and everything. I loved every bit of the opportunity to become a walk-on, then a scout team player, then contributing for 2.5 years, getting a Scout Team Player of the Week award, and being rewarded for on seeing action in the game and everything. So you're being an undersized player. You just do your part, and you make a difference. And then eventually you get rewarded by just being a part of a team and your teammates. And that's what I bring to this show, Football 101. And this Football 101 show is a breakdown of the Seattle Seahawks, NFC West. So yeah, I had to get a little little slice there. But the NFC West with the Seahawks, Seattle Seahawks, I quite frankly, I was a little pleasantly surprised when I dug deep into the Seattle Seahawks. Shout out to Seattle Sports, the Bump and Stacy show. That's right, Seattle Sports, the Bump and Stacy show. And then also the Seattle Seahawks show. They do a lot. Let me just say, they do a lot of production. More production than diving into the nuts and bolts of the team. When I dug deep into their team, of the locals that are covering the team, and it was more about production. These slow motion productions of the players, and they did a mic'd up with Julian Love, the DB, the safety on their team, who is receiving a lot of love from the media, and this is his 6th year coming from there. He's a tight. His technique is great. It's great safety. He's been overlooked. See, I knew I was going to get to this early. He's been overlooked by knucklehead loss of a Jamal Adams safety, which they wasted a lot of time and energy and money on Jamal Adams, which was a major disappointment. And so, yes, the Seattle Seahawks with the new coach, head coach, Mike Macdonald. Gone is Pete Carroll and his old school emotional way of Seattle, of the 12th man and all of that. They said it was time, y'all. I'm sorry. Seattle Seahawks with Pete Carroll. He had his day. And he wanted to come back for another year, but they kept him on for several, I think maybe 3 years too long. And complacency has settled into Seattle, and now they're trying to restore a new tradition. Head coach Mike Macdonald, he appears, I don't know much about him, but he seems like the Lindy Sports. Let me show my Lindy Sports great breakdown of the Seattle Seahawks, Lindy Sports, and he comes across as a very analytical guy. He's not a over rah guy. He's very analytical. Again, when I saw him in the interviews, he was kind of down to earth, meat and potatoes type of guy, but very analytical. And so you got to give him time. It's going to take him time to change over the culture of Seattle and their training camp. It's in the Puget Sound. It's beautiful next to the lake there, and they're next to the Pacific Ocean, and all that, and it's very wooded with all their pine trees. They have a lot of it's a low key type of training camp, and they're about just business, and people are saying the right things. And they're saying the right things. Let me just say, and the fans, I haven't seen enough of the fans interacting with them, but they're very polite. The fans in Seattle, they're very polite. They're very dedicated. They just want to team up there. They just want to be recognized. They're in Seattle. They're way up on the West Coast. They're in Washington. And I'm sorry. You're going to get very comfortable there. And that's what I see. And many of the players, the veteran players, like DK Metcalf. Now, DK Metcalf, he could have left himself, but he's very comfortable in that system. He still is a beast. DK Metcalf, the super duper star, the complete stud of a wide receiver. He's paired with Tyler Lockett, who's a 10-year veteran, along with tight end Noah Fant, and superstar in his second year, Jason Smith Nagimba, the Ohio State wide receiver. He's the number one. He's not number one, but he's 1A because he has the speed. And DK is will be playing more of the slot now that. No, not really. DK will be on the out. Smith will be more of a slot / outside run, but he's elevating to the next level. It's just that Tyler Lockett, he will be placed by Jason Jackson. So again, they got an excellent wide receiving core. That's the top level. They got a top level wide receiving core. Their key issue, quarterback Geno Smith. After signing the deal last year, he had an average year. But what I've seen in camp, Geno looks locked in. And let me say, again, the production, Geno, they show Geno meeting the head coach during the first day, second day, or whatever of training camp. Geno was just saying, yeah, you're right, yeah. Okay, whatever you say, coach. Geno was saying all the right things. I don't blame him. Geno is, he's very fortunate. He's a starter now again. His career has come full circle, and he has nothing to lose. I guarantee he has much to gain. He's not on the hot seat or anything like that. But Geno will get back with the wide receiver. It's about spending time with the core wide receivers, and they're going to score points. They are a physical big team, and their running back. With Charbonnet, Zach Charbonnet, he's a stud, complete stud, and I really like Charbonnet. Also like Ken Walker, he's a stud as well. So they got some solid. Again, they recruit, they draft physical players, and that's the reason why I didn't know that they drafted. Barnett. Yeah, he's the tight end. The tight end for, there he is. I want to make sure I get his name right. AJ, rookie from Michigan. Yeah, AJ Barnett from Michigan. There you go. I want to make, Barner. I'm sorry, my bad. I can't see between the glasses. Shut up. That's an inside joke, y'all. But Barner, AJ Barner from Michigan, he's a rookie. But what I saw in the interview, there you go. AJ Barner's from Ohio. He grew up in Ohio, and he was asking some silly questions when he was interviewed, and he has a lot to learn. But a very nice player from the championship team of Michigan, and he's got a lot to learn. A tight end, and he'll fit into this system. He's used to being in a physical system Big Ten. They were asking questions about being in the Big Ten. Yeah, the Bump and Stacy show. They were asking him a lot of questions. What it was like being in the Big Ten. He said, "You just gotta bring your A game. Do your job. You just gotta bring it. It's physical." And that's what he grew up playing physical. He actually was a several sport player, but and he played. What did he say? He's played linebacker in high school, but making the transition to tight end and everything, you got to be physical. He loves the inside game, and he's a physical type of player. So those are the type. And when you see the offensive line and defensive line for Seattle, they're big, they're stout. They draft some big guys, solid. These are not technique guys. When you're in Seattle and you're playing in that tough weather, when the weather starts changing and their field that's open stadium, you got to play nuts and bolts, and it's got to be a physical game. So they draft a lot of wide body offensive linemen and defensive linemen. So backing up Geno Smith, let me just say, I think I saw backing up Geno Smith is Sam Howell from North Carolina. Great choice. Sam Howell will be bringing it. I like Sam Howell. He's going to see some action through the season because Geno might get hurt, but they're in good. I really like Sam Howell. He did a commendable job with the Washington Commanders last year, I believe. Now he's in Seattle. So yeah, so I think that was a great pickup for Seattle. Sam Howell, there we go. We'll also traded for Sam Howell, who started every game for Washington in 2023, is only 23 years old as a backup now and possibly a starter down the road. So they expect Sam Howell to start probably within the next 2 years. So they're in good hands at the quarterback position. Now, again, like I said, offensive line, Seattle's offensive line, offensively downturn in 2023. It started in the beginning. Second-year starter tackles, Charles Cross on the left and Abraham Lucas on the right, and then suffered injuries. So Seattle remade its interior and will have new starters at 3 spots. So again, that's they start really big body guys. You see Nick Harris, Christian Haynes, Abraham Lucas as the starters, and as well as Laken Tomlinson. Very stout offensive line. It's going to take some chemistry. Their defensive line, McDonald's plan for reviving Seattle's defensive revolves around being strong up the middle. Seattle has spent heavily in the offseason to get that done, re-signing Leonard Williams, acquired in a trade with the Giants in October. So they're trying to get stout up the middle with their defense. The base defense is expected to remain a 3-4 with the linebackers, projected starters, and different starters. Nasuo is a projected starter at linebacker. Boyce Mafe, as well as Tyrell Dodson and Jerome Baker will be linebackers. They're defensive backs. Again, they're hyping up. Again, I didn't know much about him. I remember a bit about him. Julian Love receiving a lot of great attention. And corner, Devin Witherspoon. Again, the corners appear to be with Devin Witherspoon, and then there's Woodland and Trey Brown, Quadri Diggs, and Jamal Adams, and cost-cutting moves. Replacing them was Julian Love, and from last year. So yes, they had to get rid of that cost cut. And let me just say another shout out to Jamal Adams. He was a brother that caused a lot of dissension on the team as well last year for the past several years. And I'm just going to say I'm glad he's gone from Seattle. More talk, coming from New York Jets, signing that big contract from New York when he arrived, and never really delivered the goods. And again, that's where, let me just say this as a former DB, you as a DB, your A game many times comes in spurts, but many times your A game you only have at the highest rim maybe 3 top years. Really, when you're on your game, you're on your game, and you're just in a zone. But you gotta realize the game changes so fast. The wide receivers change and the techniques change so fast. So as a DB, you gotta realize the longevity of being the number one cover is very limited in time. And Jamal Adams, signed a big deal coming from New York and never delivered up to so-called standards. Was always complaining, always injured, playing half injured, playing injured, not playing at all. It was more talk, and then eventually that causes dissension on the team, and just wasting a lot of time and energy on players that, particularly, he's a safety, slow safety, not a cover safety. He was more like a smaller linebacker. That's what he's playing. Really a smallish linebacker playing close to the line of scrimmage. Really not a cover guy at all. If he was covering someone, probably the tight end or even the tackle. But I'm so glad they got rid of Jamal Adams, making us DBs and safeties looking bad. And so, touche on that. Of course, they lost also Bobby Wagner, linebacker, outstanding veteran. They also, like I said, Quadre Diggs, and they got rid of Drew Lock as quarterback. So they really are retooling in Seattle. Their defense will be challenged to another level. As with regards to their special teams, Seattle's kicking battery of kickers, Jason Myers, punter Michael Dixon, and snapper Chris Stahl is one of the better units in the NFL. They'll depend upon them to win some close games, so that's very important. The intangibles, the change from Pete Carroll to McDonald takes Seattle from one of the most proven head coaches in the game to a journey into the unknown. McDonald earned a raise for his ability to scheme a defense in Baltimore, and players praised him with his ability to communicate. But head coaching requires many other skills. And McDonald has never headed up his own team at any level. Wow. I didn't know that. The Seahawks have sensed the change. Doesn't mean they are rebuilding, though in some of the key players know and all, it will be 30-something. Maybe a new look and renewed sense of urgency will get Seattle to the winning now. Well, he's an analytical guy. He more defensively oriented, and so we'll see how long he lasts. I think he'll be there for quite some time. It takes time to create a new chemistry, particularly on a team that is often overlooked. And let's face it, if it wasn't for them winning the Super Bowl several years ago with Russell Wilson and their entire elite defense and the scheme of that, we would not be talking about Seattle at all for decades. I'm sorry. And they're known for the 12th man. They're going to have to get another person to join their squad if they're going to win the NFC West. But they will be bringing the physicality. I give them that much. They're going to be bringing the pain. Because that's what Seattle, they recruit, they bring in the pain. They don't play this technique, this light tech. They're completely different from, they're completely different from the rest of the NFC West. They're different from San Francisco. They're different from LA. They're different. They're closer to Arizona, but they're better than Arizona. But they're a stout team. So I give the Seahawks some credit for sticking to who they are. They're not trying to change completely. change all they're sticking to their base. And looking at their schedule for 2024, they start off with the Denver Broncos at home. And then they go to New England. Then they host my Miami Dolphins. yeah, my Miami Dolphins. Then they go to Detroit. Then they host Giants. Then they host San Francisco 49ers. Then they go to Atlanta. Then they host Buffalo. Then they host the Rams. And then they have a bye. Then they go to San Francisco. And then they host Arizona. Then they go to New York Jets. Then they go to Arizona. Then they host the Green Bay Packers. And then they host Minnesota Vikings. And then they go on Thursday night to Chicago. Chicago. And then they finish out with on the road the LA Rams and SoFi Stadium. I have their record at 9-8. 9 wins, 8 losses. I think they will bust over 500 just a bit. It takes time with the chemistry, and I'm just curious of how Geno Smith will, elevate his game, because he will elevate his game. I think he'll get in the flow of things. He has his the core folks, talented, very talented offense. And it really comes down on their defense, whether they can really solidify, put enough pressure, keep enough pressure on the back end. And I think they will make a solid showing in the NFC West. It's just that they will not have enough speed to keep up with the rest of the NFC West and other fast teams like my Miami Dolphins. They just will not be able to keep up with them. And so there's going to have to be some type of transition of, are you going to stick with the base, very solid type of, no, I'm not going to say that, but Chicago type of players, the NFC North players, those types of teams that really just gives it no gimmicks. It's about physicality, and that's what football brings. It brings out the physicality of players, and the Beatle knows about bringing the physicality. And I just was kind of curious, will the Seattle Seahawks with their new head coach McDonald bring out the physicality? Because let's face it, it's a physical game. It's a violent game. Let's not pretend. Yeah, it's the real deal. So I really like what I saw in training camp with the Seattle Seahawks. They have the mind frame. They're in the right environment, and they're not going to be with so much pressure on them. Give them time, and I think they will reinvent themselves, and they're preparing for the future as well. So I see them with a 9-8 record. They're going to surprise a lot of teams again. But they're definitely not going to be a pushover for the favorite teams. They're not going to be a push. They will. I think Geno will get in a groove, and if he doesn't get injured, I think he will get in a groove, and you'll see some great things from Geno in this offense. It's just that their defense is very susceptible. So there you go. That's the Beetle. This is my review of the Seattle Seahawks. This is show number, what is it? It's show number 16. I finished the NFC, and then we're going to be moving over to the AFC. But again, this is the Beetle. This is Football 101. It's all about getting ready for the regular season. I'm hyped. I hope you're hyped. I'm not going to quit. This is the real deal. And let's